dream too much. I tell myself that I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. That I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. Clearly now. Clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now.
Welcome. Well, I better hit my push talk key. Welcome to the Reverie Esports Open number 86. We're getting pretty high up there. I'm your caster, EffectFX, joined by the awesome Octavian.
Oh, always nice to have an alliterative compliment at the start of a cast. How you doing tonight, Effect? You doing well?
I am a little tired. It's been a long day, but I'm ready to cast some League of Legends. I kind of missed last week, but I'm back.
It's good to have you back, buddy. It was certainly fun solo casting. I know better than anybody that I do like the sound of my own voice, but I also know better than anybody that it, like a fine wine, is best when paired with something else. And you really are the cheese to my wine, Effect. Let's get into this pick band, which has a Garen featured already. That's kind of neat.
Brand and Garen. That's rather.
And we've got a returning team here to the Reverie Weeklies and indeed to the Reverie Opens and buy-ins and pretty much everything we do here at
Very much so. Supernova definitely is a team that likes to show up quite frequently.
And more power to them. I love seeing consistency in the amateur scene. It is one thing which we definitely can grow on as a scene. And then over on the red side, they're going to be matched off against 8-Bit University, if I am not incorrect in that assumption.
That was my assumption.
Bracket, right?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, cool. 8-Bit University against Supernova, and 8-Bit University already drawing some very interesting bands in the form of a Garen. A first pick, Lee Sin, as well coming through, and that catches us up to where we are right now with 8-Bit University deliberating over a Karma and Ivory.
All right, and then of course that was Pike Kickboard locking in the Lee Sin for, I'm assuming, potluck.
Oh, and it seems my volume may be a little bit low, so I will try and adjust that on my end. If you can fix it up on your end as well, Effect, we'll get that sorted for you folks. Sorry about that. But we are moving into the next two picks here. We'll see what the answer is to the Ivor and Karma. A very highly defensive composition already, just in terms of survivability. A lot of shields, a lot of support. I want to see them pick some more damage on 8-Bit University's side, and I don't actually really have an idea of what Supernova's going for just yet. Lee Sin pretty versatile.
Most certainly going to be Lee Sin jungle. Especially with this Shen being locked in. And it's going to be a top lane Shen, so we definitely need some more damage coming out of 8-Bit University. Obviously, Ivor's very powerful, but he's not exactly the highest damage jungler in existence.
By no means. He doesn't really need to be. You know, he can rush that redemption. He can be a huge source of durability and survivability for the rest of his team in a team fight and do that job quite well. He just needs someone to do that job for, and I think that's what we're going to see here from 8-Bit University if they're following along the lines of the composition that I imagine they will be. Shen and Lulu, though, has some durability written all over it, too. Neither side really picking much of a carry yet, unless that Lee Sin really pops off.
And that is going to be Yule locking in the Ezreal from assuming Ferret.
It's a bit of carry potential for sure. Ezreal does scale in the later game. And the Renekton hover, but a Nautilus potential that would be locked in here. Just a few seconds left on the clock, and Ferret 101 will lock that in.
So we need to see, as a last pick for a mid laner, we need to see some really, really strong damage output. Something like a Cassiopeia, maybe.
Yeah, I actually like the Cassiopeia pick here. They've got a great front line to keep it safe, which may be one of the reasons why Foss is going to pick it for himself. Foss the Maja as well is just a very practiced Cassiopeia player, so this makes a ton of sense. You deny it from your opponent. It's pretty good in your composition because you've got Lulu and Shen to back it up. And Foss already plays it really well, so there's basically every reason in the world to grab this champion here.
Absolutely. There are still a number of solid damage picks you could pick for mid lane, of course, but I think Cassiopeia was probably the best fit. But it's actually going to be a Jace, maybe. It's not locked in yet, but
it would leave their composition relatively monochromatic as far as damage is concerned, going only the physical damage route for the most part. I mean, admittedly, Karma, Ivern, and Nautilus will all do some amount of magic damage, but it's relatively unimportant. However, that is the full composition locked in for both sides.
yeah. It's a surprise AP top lane Nautilus.
Wait. No, it's not. It could actually be a Karma lane, though, in a Nautilus support. That is something we could look out for. However, the Nautilus holding teleport right now, I think that's not the case. That would be really interesting, though, and would actually sort of solve their problem of having only a single damage type, because Karma gets a solo lane gold and then actually becomes a scaling threat.
And
that would be really interesting.
And Karma could top lane. Seen it before.
Yeah, into Shen it does pretty well. Karma doesn't really care about Shen's ability to block her auto attacks and such, and can kite him around very easily. But I don't think that's going to be the game plan here, however clever it would have been. And we've got just a few seconds before we get on to our spectator delay.
And yeah, that's going to be it. That's definitely be no sneaky shenanigans with the top lane Karma, it would seem.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. But it does mean we are entering our 3-minute delay. We'll be taking a small, tiny commercial break, and we'll be back as soon as we're in game, so don't go anywhere, folks. Okay, guys, we're up, but I seem to be having some technical difficulties. We'll have to do a radio cast while I figure out what's going on.
Technical difficulties on my end as well, as I'm still looking at a loading screen here. Perhaps we can cut to a wait screen for just a few minutes while we this. Oh no, I am live and in action. Are you seeing movement? Do we have life on your end effect?
No, I am on a loading screen. I got booted to desktop.
Oh,
reconnect.
all right. Hopefully you'll be able to reconnect in time. I can keep the radio cast going, though, if that's what we want to do. It's a 5-man stack from the side of 8-Bit University, sitting in a bush near the mid lane. And we have visual. We have visual confirmation.
Si, senor.
All righty. De nada, I think. I don't know. I don't speak Spanish. I'm a dirty Frenchman myself. Oh, my girlfriend would not be proud. She's Nicaraguan. She speaks fluent Spanish. I have not picked up a word yet, and it's not very good. 5-man spread, though, from the side of Supernova, and it doesn't look like anything too explosive will happen with this level 1.
Now it just looks like 8-Bit was preparing for a possible invade. Maybe possibly get a free pick. But Supernova is not exactly known for their overly aggressive level 1s here at Reverie, so I'm not too surprised they went with the standard line of scrimmage. And both junglers are going to be starting on the bottom side of the map.
Now, I'm really excited to watch this bottom lane here. Mainly just because of the Lucian changes. What they've done is they've taken, I think, pretty much all of his animations, and they've given them a scaling speed based off his level. So he gets really, really clean, quick movements the higher level the Lucian becomes. And it's something which has caused a lot of higher level players to start to pick up the champion again. And personally, I do have a little bit of a bias. Lucian's probably my favorite AD carry, especially to cast. But all in all, I'm just excited to see how it works out for him.
Absolutely. And of course, this was a very interesting patch, actually, for a few reasons. And the Lucian is definitely one of them.
Yeah. Varus being nerfed as well does leave a little bit of room in the meta for a new AD carry to come to the forefront. And it could very well be Lucian. We're at a bit of a crossroads.
Absolutely. The Deathfire Touch nerf is definitely going to make a bit of an impact on the current, what was the current meta.
Mm-hmm. As Yaoi Dante and Dillaran continue to try and push around Certified Noob and Deciges, who did not line up in LCS order. It's throwing me off. So that's okay. I'll survive. There's a beautiful Lucian combo, weaving in that passive auto as the piercing light animation came out. Very well done.
Pike concluded with the Orange Blade doing some work there.
Yeah, it's going to give him quite an aggressive lane. That's really interesting, actually. Going into the Nautilus, though, I can understand it to some degree, actually.
It does make
Shen
sense.
wins that matchup pretty well. And Pie Lord is certainly known for his more aggressive style in the top lane, at least here at Reverie. Potluck going for an invade is going to find Hib, potentially catch him out here in the jungle. There's a flash over the wall from Foss the Mage. They are hungry for this first blood. He's burning away, but he's still got 50 health to his name. The body block, the flash in, he gets Trigger Seed, but Twin Fangs is enough, and it's first blood to Foss the Mage. Well, the action may not yet be over. Exhaust onto Yuf, though, didn't realize the summoner was still waiting in the bank, and that's 2 kills now to Supernova.
That's so unfortunate. He thought he had it, and then the exhaust came out, and that's just not good.
Yeah, underestimating the exhaust mid lane is a mistake that I'm sure every mid laner of late has, as exhaust becomes more and more popular in that position. And Foss the Magi claiming a good chunk of early gold there. Now, about 600 to 700 gold up over his opponent. Pretty dang significant, only 4 minutes in.
Absolutely. That's going to be a tier and a Dark Seal on his first back.
Get that tier to stacking. Potentially get the Dark Seal to stacking as well, depending on how well the rest of the lane plays out. Meanwhile, top lane, though, Pib is looking to claim back a bit of turf for the side of 8-Bit University. But Pie Lord is a slippery target to catch on to. They may still get it. Root Collar lands. Pie Lord blocking out a few auto attacks there with the Spirit's Refuge, and it looks like that's enough as he makes it back to the turret without even having to burn a summoner.
Not quite enough damage. They managed to do decent CC chain, but Nautilus does decent early game damage, but against other tanks, it's not amazing.
Yeah, Nautilus Ivern is not a very solid duo in terms of actually killing their target. Maybe, though, Jace can provide a little bit more backup. Root Collar beautifully dodged by Foss the Magi. He's buying enough time for Potluck as well. Pib trying to face check into that bush is going to get a face full of damage, a few more Twin Fangs, and Potluck showing up in the mid lane is death for the tree.
Potluck to save the day comes out of nowhere.
I mean, even Foss was okay there. Even Potluck showing up at the end secured the kill for sure, but Foss actually had made it out alive already because of some really, really nice footwork, but well, I guess tail work.
Slither work?
Original joke, do not steal. But yeah, just very solid play, mechanically speaking. Sidestepping away from that root collar, having the awareness.
That certainly made the difference. I'm almost certain Fast would have died without the dodge.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And Pib has suffered in this early game quite a bit already. This is really rough for an Ivern, who's actually usually probably used to getting an early lead. Ivern is pretty strong in that regard because he can go and get the sort of guaranteed steal with the passive plus smite.
Pib going to clear out some vision, and it is worth noting, Pyke Lord is now level 6, so that does open up the Shen ultimate. Shadow Nesh not quite landing though.
Yeah.
But
he's perfectly happy just to keep that lane going as it is, but Potluck now down on the bottom side is going to be kicking Deciduous up against the wall, guaranteeing that Q, landing a flash forward from Dillaran, but he gets exhausted. There's an Ivern waiting in the wings. Root Collar doesn't land. Yowie Dante is now a little bit too far up. He does manage to slow down Certified Noob, but another Q connects. Just one more Ezreal Q shift forward. Go for it, Crazed Noob. No! Certified Noob, pardon me. He's not Crazed Noob. Potluck coming back in. He's got a Shen ulti on top of him. The Supernova is playing this one to the teeth, and it looks like they'll be rewarded for it. It's a double kill to the Lucian heal from Potluck, or onto Potluck to keep him alive. And the Shen ulti comes up huge.
Absolutely. It was a extremely ballsy play.
Foss may yet find another kill here. He's dropping the pink ward into the bush. Ferret is not a squishy target, but Foss has plenty of damage already. And
can Yule make it in time? It's going to be close.
I mean, he's got some help coming up from the mid lane, and Yule claims the first kill back for it. Nice.
Gets a bit of revenge, but he is still kind of behind.
Yeah, Foss playing a little too far forward, going for a kill into the Nautilus there. He may have had it. He could have just taken the flash and slithered on out. Yule would not have been able to catch up to him in time, but a little greedy going for the kill after already getting the flash.
It is worth noting that his flash will be up soon, though, so I'll have that for the next opportunity. Where are we doing everywhere else? CS-wise, 8-bit's keeping up, but there is the rather large difference in kills.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got a decent scaling composition, but I have to reiterate what I went to in the draft, which is that they're pretty monochromatic in terms of damage. They've got almost entirely only physical damage. Their carries are only physical damage. The rest of their comp does some magic, but not a single carry to be seen there. And so Shen's going to have an easy time just building pure armor, though actually Pyke looks to be building a little bit of damage first, but potentially building just pure armor and being a front line while this Cassiopeia melts them from a distance. The game plan is looking solid already for Supernova. I think already we're at the point where Supernova has to make a pretty serious mistake to throw this one away.
I have to agree with that. They're in a really, really solid position.
Ferret is now able to hold his own a bit more in this lane, which means he's got the ability to walk up and actually farm it out. So Nautilus is going to start to get pretty tanky too. But Potluck has just so much freedom over the map. Does have to flash to get away there. But some pretty clean moves in the Lee Sin gets him out to safety.
Flash and Dragon Dread is able to keep him not dead.
The preferable state, yep. As Pyke Lord going to be taunting in onto Ferret. He does win these trades still, it's just not as quickly, though. Pib coming to the top side may make a difference there. This is Pib's second attempt out here on the top side. We'll see if it's any more successful than the first. Pyke Lord flashing away from the Daisy knockup.
Can't quite ignore that damage now. He is building... He does have the T-Mat, so he doesn't have much in the way of defensive stats yet.
I mean, still, though, you got to consider what's going on across the rest of the map as Pib focuses up there on the top side. Potluck down on the bottom, realizing that he's got to take something back, is going to go for the first first turret push here. Potentially rotate over to the dragon as well thereafter. And Pib got Shen's flash. It just really doesn't seem worth it, considering the investment necessary.
Definitely not a fair trade overall, and it looks like they are going to be going for that dragon.
Mountain Drake, pretty easy target here, as Pib hanging around the mid lane is actually going to be heading back to base.
Fast being very aggressive with the poison.
And this is just Supernova more on the same page, really. They've got a game plan coming into this one, it seems, and they have had to play reactively a few times, but not nearly as much as 8-Bit University have had to.
High kick load taking a bit of damage from the turret.
There's Potluck tossing Decisions back into the waiting grasp of a Cassiopeia, who is quick to melt him down alongside a mid laner to boot. Very, very well dove by Supernova. They're going to back out now through the jungle and likely take down this outer mid turret, which is already heavily wounded.
Bit of a preemptive wild growth by Dante there, making sure that Fast had little to no chance of dying or getting accidentally bursted by Yule.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense. You know, they just kind of assaulted them with overwhelming force, but we've got Pie Cake Lord now going dangerously low under the turret, but the turret goes down before the final shot lands. Pie Cake gonna make it out.
Oh my God.
Oh, not even. Oh, dodging away from the Ezreal Q2. Not even the consolation prize of the Shen on the way out. Right.
He was rather low on health there.
Yeah, the turret was literally just about to fire. Kill him. Oh no. Admittedly, though, it doesn't really matter if the Shen dies there. The turret's already down. They've already won the team fight. They've already taken the objective. Shen dying would have been just a passing thought at the end of an already pretty disastrous moment for 8-Bit.
Absolutely, but I imagine at this point 8-Bit would happily take whatever they could get their hands on.
Yeah. And, you know, Supernova is happy to keep them from getting their hands on anything.
Except poor Fast.
That is the name of the game. Just choking their opponents out of any possible advantage here. And this is pretty much textbook League of Legends. This is how you want to play it. Admittedly with a few minor errors here or there. Foss over chasing comes to mind. But, you know, there's error in every game, no matter how perfectly played.
That is what makes it interesting.
Yeah, indeed. The game becomes boring once it's perfected. It's the reason why people are still playing chess after thousands of years. It's not a solved game yet. Coming back to the game, though, this one, the one at hand on your screen, I would just like to, you know, not in a mean-spirited way, but point out some of the places where, you know, 8-Bit University may have gone a little off the beaten track, where they may have gone wrong. And I think a lot of it comes down to just Pib's early play. As Ferret 1-on-1 is getting the full brunt of this newly buffed Lucian, the culling coming through, and Dylan's on a rampage charging on under that last remaining outer turret. And yeah, Pib just had such a rough time keeping up with the tempo that Potluck was able to put out.
As unfortunately, maybe under a little bit of stress, he missed most of his root callers, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, I mean, a good amount of them were just dodged away from as much as missed.
I guess that is fair.
While the outer turret falls, so too goes the Rift Herald, and Supernova's gaining jungle control. They're like a one-man band of League of Legends right now. They're playing 7 different objectives at the same time. Well, 3. But 7 sounds better.
Sounds very fancy.
It does indeed. And then we hear a cymbal crash in the background. I mean, they haven't dropped any of these balls that they're juggling yet. I'm just building a whole circus act for this team right now. Next, they'll be taming bears or something.
Making bears jump through flaming hoops.
There's no Sejuanis in this game, though. At least not with that Sejuani bear skin. That is the best skin of the game, by the way. I will accept no substitute. Where does Supernova go next with this? That's really just the question of the whole game now. They've got complete control, an almost 10k gold lead, 3 turrets to none, and the only dragon that's been taken. Supernova are decidedly the ones calling the shots here, but actually it is Pib who finds a potential pick as a hook lands onto Yowie Dante. Yowie Dante getting bursted. the kill. Nicely done.
Yeah, very
Okay,
nice
maybe I
pickup
spoke too
by
soon.
very nice pickup by 8-bit, taking full advantage of that.
Yeah, well played. They've got a composition that's pretty good at claiming picks. Admittedly, they're rather low damage, single damage type, all these things that I've hit on already. But they've got long-range pick between an Ivern and a Nautilus, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I actually really liked how Ferret switched off of Lee Sin, even though Lee Sin was the one who got root collared. Because obviously Lee Sin is very, very slippery in comparison to Lulu.
Yeah, good target choice. As well as that, the Lulu right now is much, much squishier. Just not having leveled as much. 3 levels behind Potluck. I mean, that's more in Potluck's favor than it is in Yowie's disfavor. Pie Cake Lord is sitting at level 11 already. That one kill is nice, but it's not going to be nearly enough to make up the massive differential that's built up over the last 15 minutes.
And they need
But
to,
it is nice.
like I said, they're going to take whatever they can get, and I imagine they're happy to get that with no loss. Additional loss, I should say.
However, they are still losing out across the map in terms of lane control. As Foss and Potluck shove up towards a secondary turret. And Pie Cake Lord is virtually uncontested up here. Nautilus sitting in the bush playing hide and seek. But I don't know if he can really do that much to defend the turret. And just keep the minion waves crashing into it.
Forces by Kickler Shadow Dash.
Yeah, I mean, the Shen does not in one wave take the turret down. The Shen takes the turret down in 10 waves, bit by bit, like the ocean crashing against a cliff. It just recedes it slowly away.
Good metaphor.
And really, Nautilus can't hold the ocean back. He may be from the depths, but he can't stop their tides. This is a bit of a stretched metaphor at this point. I think it was pretty good, though. I came from a good place with it.
It started off really strong.
God dang, Foss is just 3v1ing. Like, actually, literally 3v1ing. They've barely been able to hit him with anything, but now, maybe, they might finally be able to catch onto him. No, Yol flashing in is just going to go down. The rest of his team left him out to dry as Lee Sin came in from the flank. This Cassiopeia play from Foss has been some of the cleanest I've ever seen.
And it looked like Yul might have had that, but then once again, the exhaust being his demise there.
Yeah. As he's still playing far up, he flashes away there from the Ezreal ulti, dropping them out on chasing that Ezreal under the turret, a kickback. But Foss has the turret aggro down. That's not where you want it to be. Finally, he will indeed fall, and that is a bit of a shutdown. Going over to 8-Bit University, it is traded back for at least 1, maybe 2, as Dillaran is diving under an inhibitor turret here, but that could not be the wisest thing to do against Nautilus. Nearly falls to that final turret shot. Meanwhile, though, Supernova taking turrets, pushing lanes, getting objectives. Kills may trade back and forth. Fights may become messy and dirty, but Supernova always somehow comes out with an advantage.
Absolutely. And we can definitely see that 8-Bit is floundering at the moment. Some good efforts there. But it's just the huge gold lead at this point makes it so difficult to make a recovery.
Yeah, and while they've got some scaling champions, I don't think they're going to be given the time to take advantage of them by any means, as Supernova seems to be on a bit of a quicker clock here than 8-Bit is. Baron up in a minute and a half. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that they put some focus on, honestly.
It's definitely a fairly decent option. They just have to get some good vision down. And as long as there's no contest, then they can take it.
Yeah, I mean, if they can just get Pie Cake Lord and Potluck to tank, Foss will melt it very quickly with a blue buff. Lucian does some decent damage as well. I mean, he's 5-0-2, he's got a blade. Dillaran's been kind of quietly just stacking up kills in the background. Foss has made a lot of the really fancy plays, but Dillaran has picked up the kills, cleaned them up in these fights. You know, reliable damage source, that is the job description for AD carry.
Absolutely. Now, Foss has paid for his... Oh, hello, speaking of.
And Foss walking a little bit too far forward. It doesn't really have a lot to kite this one back with, but it looks like the Lulu will be enough. The shields as well coming from both Lulu and Lee Sin, and there's just not enough left in the tank to bring down this snake. Potluck jumping away, following that Karma through a blast cone over the wall. And Supernova may very well have closed this one out. That really just looked like the last gasp for 8-Bit University.
It was a good catch on Foss, but they just did not have the damage to burst through the wild growth in the shields.
Yeah. As well as that, he's built up a bit of tankiness for himself in the form of a Rod of Ages. Admittedly, only a single stack, but we're early days yet in this game. If you look at the clock, at least. Not if you look at what's been taken, though. An inhibitor already down, and Baron very much a realistic objective. Only just past 20 minutes.
Absolutely. One inhibitor at 20 minutes is pretty deep. Pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so. And if you just look across the board at these items, you can see exactly how badly 8-Bit University is floundering here. It's 2 items fully completed for Dillaran's Lucian, and not a single one done yet for Certified Noob. Spastamanja is waiting around the corner for a bit of a bait here, but he may have been in a... No! Farret's hook hits the wall. That's unfortunate.
Fair, kind of rushing out the dredge line there, unfortunately. Otherwise, they might have been able to pick up fast there.
I think he was dead to rights if that hook had landed. He has exhaust, but I don't think that would have been enough in a 3v1. Might have taken somebody with him. Honestly, he's that strong at the moment. But
that is true.
That's a fine trade if you're 8-Bit University. If you can get just Foss off the board, that removes so much threat. But sadly, the hook hit the wall, and we will not dwell on it any further. Baron now, though, becomes the crux of this game. A real focus that Supernova seem to be rallying around.
Well, they're rotating to it, possibly.
And with good reason.
Yeah, with Pie Kick Lord happily just going to sit on the bottom side.
Yeah, I mean, he's got either Teleport or Shen ulti available pretty much at any time. At the moment, it's Stand United. So we can rejoin the team should that be necessary. And the Supernova are going to gain priority in the top lane, shove that out really fast, and then I presume rotate back to the Baron pit, though they could actually just look to make a push happen. They've got that free pressure in the mid lane. They could prioritize an inhibitor turret over the Baron.
Potluck's getting a little more tanky, so he could possibly dive under turret and hold it for a few seconds.
Yeah. I suppose there's no real reason to go for the Baron if you've got the pushing power to take the turret without it. There's no reason to risk it. Fastamajai avoiding that hook there, landing a beautiful 2-man ulti as well. Redemption's coming down. A little bit of a top-off for both teams to keep this team fight going. Yoey Dante having to flash out after ulting himself. Nobody's gone down yet, but oh no. Disaster strikes. As what looked like a pretty even fight from the start breaks very quickly once we see 8-Bit University just run out of steam. And, you know, Supernova really had barely invested anything into the fight at that point. This is going to be GG here. The Nexus turret's under fire. Baron, by no means necessary. Supernova will claim a 22 or 23-minute victory, depending on which way you want to round.
Valiant effort by 8-Bit University, but they just fell too far behind in the early game, and unfortunately couldn't make a recovery. Some good picks there in the mid game there, but that is going to be it for this semifinal round. We'll have to see what is up with the next. Just give me a moment, and I can have a look.
All right, we'll be getting to the next semifinal as soon as and if we can. They do run simultaneously, concurrently with one another, just so that we don't go too late here on our Saturday tournaments. But hopefully it hasn't started yet. That was a very quick match from Supernova, very quick and clean cut there. They're going to be heading into the finals, and we'll see who'll be joining them as soon as we possibly can. Are we getting to the next match here, Effect, or are we hopping to a quick break?
We'll do a quick break while I see if there's somebody on my friends list, because the game has already started.
All right, we'll be right back as soon as we can, folks.
It's never too late to admit when you're wrong. Turn a new leaf, see a new dawn. The time to decide has come and gone. Just give me a chance, we can carry on. I made my choice, these drums of your voice, they run through my head as I remember the day. Stay in this moment. to admit when you're on. Turn a new leaf, see a new dawn. The time to decide has come and gone. Just give me a chance, we can carry on. I've made my choice, these drums of your voice, they run through my head as I remember the day. Stay in this moment.
And here we are. Sorry about the delay, guys. We are in the finals for our Reverie Esports Open number 86. We're back!
And it will be Supernova, as you witnessed earlier. They took down 8-Bit University to get through the semifinals, facing off against Team Big Sponsor, who have made their way here to the final punching match that will be feasted before your very eyes in just a few short minutes.
Absolutely. It's Big Sponsor with all capital letters, by the way. It's very important, I imagine.
Course. A crucial distinction. the biggest of sponsors. I wonder who sponsors them. Fizz, Fiora, and Rengar, some very particular bands. The Rengar is a bit of a string one band at the moment, but Fizz and Fiora certainly aren't. Draven taken out of the picture for Dillaran as well, some respect towards the AD carry position, and a Lulu first pick for Yaoi Dante was certainly successful on that in the semis.
That's going to be Pie Kickler locking in that Lulu first. Yao Dante had a pretty solid run with the little fairy.
See what the answering picks are in just a few moments as big sponsor deliberates over them. And Supernova, I would say, are certainly the favorites coming into this one, and that's just for lack of information on a team that we haven't actually seen anything of yet in the Reverie tournaments. We didn't manage to catch their semifinal match, unfortunately. Camille, though left open, will slip through alongside Kha'Zix, two incredibly powerful string one meta picks at the moment, both going over to the David in this David and Goliath story.
Actually, very curious to see how they do, because like you said, we haven't seen them before here, and I definitely don't recognize any of these names. Nightingale maybe is a little familiar, but I'm not sure. It's been a while, at the very least.
I think I recognize the name from just higher level solo queue in general. Master, Challenger tier. Certainly powerful players on both rosters. But Supernova have got the weight of a bit of a established organization behind them. Amateur established organization. Renekton, though, going over to Pie Cake Lord to dominate the top lane, and Potluck's Lee Sin was a point of strength for them last game in the semis. So Supernova picking to their power, as I think we'll likely see a support and actually top lane picked here too. May as well hide the AD carry for as long as you can, because there's not a ton of priorities. No, they've got the top lane already. Sorry, they've got the Camille. Support and mid is what I meant to say.
And that is indeed what they're going to do. They're going to lock in the Cassiopeia, give them a nice solid DPS in the mid lane.
Yeah.
And the versus standard Karma.
Well. I think it's a very good decision to keep it away from Foss the Magi, who had a resounding performance in the semifinals on that champion. And Karma as well, just a good all-rounder support. Pick that into Lulu. It's about an even matchup, I'd say.
Can definitely agree with that. Now we just need to see what they pick for Marksman. Speaking of that, we are waiting for that. There's the Lucian hover. We also need a mid laner.
Ooh, Azir would be interesting. Lucian locked in doesn't surprise me all that much.
Not at all. The Azir, definitely a possible interesting. It's locked in. There it is.
Yeah, it provides similar consistent damage to a Cassiopeia. I don't know how well it does in lane against this matchup, though. Cassiopeia can be really, really oppressive in a laning matchup, and Azir, since his nerfs, is not quite as adept at that. Still does have some decent lane control, though. Can shove the lane up early on into the game, just with AoE auto attacks off those soldiers. Kale as the final pick.
Oh my.
So that's a Kale support then?
That is a Kale marksman.
Kale carry? Yeah. This is an interesting conversation. That must be a Kale marksman. You're right.
That's gonna be a first for me. I gotta admit.
It's really cool. It mixes their damage type so much. They've got two heavy AD threats in the form of Kha'Zix and Camille. They've got a huge AP threat from this Cassiopeia, and then Kale does both magic and physical damage, depending on your build.
I'm actually really excited to see this, because it's been so long since I've seen a Kale, and it's always been a top or mid lane Kale.
The only issue is they've got really, really weak engage as far as reliable, hard, solid engage goes. Camille can pick somebody off potentially with an ulti. Cassiopeia could maybe get a flank going. Karma can, of course, speed anybody up to facilitate this, but they haven't got that like Nautilus or
that is true. They do
even
have
like an Ashe or something.
They are lacking the kind of engage we could possibly see out of something like a Stream of Shuffle or the Dragon Kick.
Yeah, or like even just Renekton being able to jump into a fight and brute forces. They've got nobody who's a big, solid frontline beefcake to play that sort of role. Supernova definitely have a much more standard composition. I mean, just having a Kale AD carry of course, is going to juxtapose against a composition like Supernova have drafted.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to get into this match, but we do have 2.5.
That is true. So on that note, we are going to be taking a small, tiny break, and we'll be back as soon as we're in the game. So don't go anywhere, folks. And here we are as we wait for the rift to get started up. We take this opportunity to fix the scoreboard and the chat.
Yes, and the darkness before the game begins is customary at this point. Something new and unusual with the Spectator client. It seems to like to do that nowadays. And, I've grown to appreciate it. However, what I think we might all grow to appreciate in this game is the oddity of a team composition that we have before us with Team Big Sponsor. It's a Kale bottom lane, and I'm excited. This guy is going to be fun. I've never seen this player before. We've never seen this team before, but they've made it to the finals, and they've got this sort of thing up their sleeve. So I am ready to go on So Icy Grinch's wild ride.
Absolutely. He definitely has my attention.
We'll see what he does with it.
Absolutely. We were talking about in champs, like their composition lacks engage, but if they can get a lead, I think they have a good shot. Especially if Camille can get tanky.
Yeah, what they've got really in truckloads is damage. If you look across that composition, even a Karma, they've just got so much damage across the board. But they haven't really got much meat to back it up. And that could be a real issue. Supernova has played some very clean League of Legends over the last few weeks here at Reverie Esports. And they aren't really a team that's easily caught off guard, even by unusual stratagems such as these. We'll see whether or not they are thrown off kilter by the Kale bottom lane and by the composition that really it slots into here, which is so very high damage.
Definitely going to see a big sponsor tries to get that early lead and run with it.
Foss the Magi willing to fight off here with Nightingale. Going to try and get that early lane, dropping some Sand Soldiers down. And the two laners duke it out, don't really back off, and end up about evenly trading. So Foss has chomped down on a biscuit, whereas Nightingale is holding out on his.
We're seeing Grinch and Ubernoobs a little bit late to the bottom lane, but not too much.
Yeah. And this is going to be one of the problems for Ubernoobs and Grinch. They're going to get shoved in pretty heavily because Dillaran and Yowie Dante are just going to outrange them. And every time we see this Kale come up to try and farm out the minion wave, he's going to get bullied back. Not often you can say that a Lucian lane outranges the enemy AD carry.
Nightingale getting poked a little bit there, might lose Sand Soldiers.
Yeah,
Fast, but taking full advantage of his superior range.
Fast, unable to get Cassiopeia, gets sort of Cassiopeia 2.0 in the form of Azir. High CC, alt, good, consistent damage, area control, you know, all the things Cassiopeia is known for, but he's also the Emperor of a distant ancient empire. Pretty good, pretty solid.
Instead of being a snake, he is a bird.
Yeah. That too, yeah. He's also the predatory contender in this lane, given that birds do eat snakes sometimes. Sometimes the other way around. It's a battle for the ages, truly.
Oh, good shield by Noobs, blocking most of that poke.
Dillaran continues to try and keep this lane shoved up, and we can already see the disadvantage starting to form for this Kale lane. Gonna have to make up for that in the end game with high scaling and utility, which of course Kale has yet.
You can get some decent damage on Dillaran there.
Yeah, but there's not really much that they can do to convert on that. Dillaran and Yowie Dante are going to be incredibly safe, and there's also the Ignite advantage for this Lulu, so going for the 2v2 is incredibly risky. So I imagine they're just going to have to take whatever is shoved into them and farm up as best they can.
Absolutely.
Try to scale.
Curious to see what he builds first. He has the Doran's Ring as his starting item.
Oh, okay, we're going to be getting a decent trade there. Zubernute gets chased off by Dillaran. I am actually a little bit surprised at this Karma pick, but I may have to get back to that in a moment. Pocklock flashing away from Google is Skynet, who leaps where the Lee Sin used to be. And actually the Q lands! Pocklock follows it through the flash! Too little, too late. You had to flash the Q. You couldn't flash the follow-up. And down goes the Kazakhs.
Very nice play by Potluck.
And this guy had a brilliant performance in our semifinal match. So to see him getting off to a good start is pretty dang nice for Supernova and their chances of claiming another Saturday Night Open. Dillaran going to be turned back around on, but I see Grinch is running himself pretty dang low on mana.
He's definitely going to be running out very soon. He does have the Doran's Ring for the extra mana regen, but...
And it does look like it's going to be a pure AP Kale build. Pretty anticipated from the pick, even if the pick itself wasn't anticipated. Dillaran takes some splash damage there off the Righteous Justice Fire. I know that's not the real ability name, but it definitely should be because it sounds so much better. It's Righteous Fury. But it should be Righteous Justice Fire. That would be awesome. It's more descriptive, really. But yeah, the Kale has space to grow here and has a bit of a power spike at 6. So there's some room to take the lane back then. Which is why I'm a little surprised at the Karma pick, getting back to my point from a few minutes ago. Karma doesn't really spike so hard at level 6. She's very, very strong in the first few levels of a lane, and that's when Kale is going to be weakest. So there's just not very much natural synergy between these two picks here. At least not during the laning phase. So I see Grinch is getting burned down. The Ignite drop Dillaran for that kill, and he's going to burn away to death. However, maybe Ubernoots can claim some revenge. He doesn't want to keep chasing. He can take this 2v2. There's no heal. There's no Ignite. There's only one flash. There's a pretty big minion wave, but he could have kept chasing.
He's concerned about something.
It's kind of come to the bottom lane, though. And these are some easy kills for the Kazakhs to clean up if we can just get in onto them. There's the leap. That's one. And Dillaran, no summoners and no mana left, is going to fall. I suppose the Karma was just buying time.
A bit of a die from Pie Kick Lord and Potluck.
Doesn't quite work out for them. as Dongo gets chased away. They do manage to keep him off the turret, though. And they look to convert on that first brick here.
It looks like there's going to be no contest, though the minion wave, they'll be fine.
Okay. And that is a decent trade back for the 2 kills in the bottom. Not really as a result of it by any means, but it will keep Supernova in the gold lead and by a pretty hefty amount. As pretty much every single one of their lanes is winning at the moment. I mean, admittedly, we see a huge scaling comp from Big Sponsor. They've got just so many threats, so many carries, but I feel like a team is not made of carries alone, perhaps.
And they have to translate into some kind of lead. If they get too far behind, they'll never catch up.
Yeah, unless we go super long in this game.
And given Supernova's track record, I don't see that happening too likely.
Uber Noob's playing aggressively here.
There's some decent auto attack poke and getting some extra gold.
And maybe now that there's some itemization for the kill, a bit more lane control can go back. Actually, it can even out a little bit. Nightingale and Fostamage going for the 1v1. Nightingale does have more damage. Now, Fostamage caught in the stun, and Nightingale claims the 1v1 kill. Nicely done.
Very much so. Good ultimate, right as getting shuffled back.
And this is why we see Cassiopeia in the current meta and see a lot of Azir. The damage favored to that Cassiopeia at the moment, even through the exhaust coming down. So there was a cleanse. Dongo in the 1v1 with Pie Cake Lord is actually going to leap in there with the hook shot, going in for the ultimatum as well. But Pie Cake Lord will pop the dominance. He's got a lot of it. Very squishy target. Do not underestimate a Renekton that has a lane lead. Kha'Zix has to leap away, and Dongo may yet be going down. Flash forward after the slicer and dice. Dongo providing a in for the Renekton. Oh, man. Some of the responsibility for that death.
Feels bad, man. That's gotta feel actually really bad.
Oh, well. And Dongo executes? I guess he didn't want to walk back through the lane. He could have based, but I guess he had no real way to know that Renekton would be here.
He was probably also maybe concerned about potluck.
Yeah, that as well. It doesn't give any XP or any gold away. So really, it's almost equivalent to basing, especially this early on in the game where death timers are very short. But he'll be back in lane a little bit later than if he had just based in the bush. And I suppose he risks very little going that way. Pie Cake Lord takes away half of his health with just one combo.
That wasn't even really all that much Fury empowerment. He just regular abilities. That just goes to show how incredibly powerful Renekton can be in these early games, especially against squishy targets like a Kha'Zix.
Yeah, this is really where Renekton shines, and it's a strong pick for sure. Even into the Camille, which is known to be such a lane bully, and just such a power pick at the moment, even despite a recent round of minor nerfs. Dragon going to be going over to Supernova as they continue to reign supreme in the map here. Kills may be even, but gold certainly is not, and Potluck is shoving into the enemy jungle once again. This is a similar situation for Google as Skynet, but this time around he does not want to pick a fight.
Definitely CS leads in pretty much everywhere.
As Fostamage looks to make up for the earlier 1v1 turn from the Petrifying Gaze. Potluck now coming in from the side, looking to help his mid laner out a little bit. If he could just safeguard that minion wave, maybe flash forward for the slow. They might yet be able to chase this kill down. They're still roaming into the enemy jungle forward. They've got a Renekton flanking from the top side. There's a safeguard forward, but a good sidestep from Nightingale. This guy has such good blue suede shoes on. He's put on his dancing shoes, and he is ready to rumble. It's a 1-4-1 so far, though, as the Cassiopeia did eventually fall. Potluck gets the benefit of a Lulu ulti. They're keeping this Lee Sin alive as long as possible, but not quite long enough.
Oh, Dongo might just get out.
Do much more. No, Dongo. Yeah, allows Pie Cake Lord to dive into the turret. Dongo goes down.
Yep, slice and dice.
Dongo.
Slice and dice giving him a nice engage there right into the turret. And the Fury boosted ability was enough to easily slice through Dongo's HP.
And Nightingale had some great moves there. A really solid 1v1 for the time that it lasted, but Supernova was just able to field more members to that party. And they end up taking a mid lane outer turret off the back of it. One outer turret left standing down on the bottom side, which has been almost continually shoved by Dillaran, and Yaoi Dante. So I imagine that it will be soon to fall in the next few minutes.
Absolutely. It is worth noting, though, that Grinch is going to have that Nashor's Tooth, so it is going to give him more uptime with his... Oh, it's been so long.
Righteous Fury.
That's it, Righteous Fury. And, of course, he will be hitting harder as well, so that is a bonus.
Yeah. There is the scaling factor. I mean, we've mentioned it a few times already. They've got so much damage that once they get to the end game, they may very well be able to blow up team fights. But Potluck being chased out of the jungle here nearly goes down, as he's now caught between a snake and a wall. And not a very nice place to be. Foss is going to get stunned up. Nightingale pumping that damage out. And this Cassiopeia may very well be the rallying point behind which we see Big Sponsor come back into this match.
Absolutely. Nightingale doing a lot of damage. Actually, Skynet is also doing a ton of damage as well when he gets isolated targets. Saw just how much damage he did Potluck, because Potluck has nothing in terms of defense right now. He is all damage.
However, Dillaran will keep the shove going bottom lane. Get more damage in onto that turret. And Supernova still maintain map control. They've got wards deep in the enemy jungle. You can see them scattered like candy across the ground there. I don't think anybody actually scatters candy, but, you know, it's a good metaphor. And they've got lanes that have been almost perpetually shoved up, which is a huge boon to a jungler. It's why Potluck was deep in the enemy jungle at that point, even if it didn't pay off for him that particular time. Good slow from Dongo.
Dongo able to get out without taking any damage there. Very good for him.
Yeah, Camille's definitely a difficult target to jump onto sometimes, but it doesn't really matter if you've got a 30-odd CS lead and 2 kills. Don't really need to, you know, express any more further dominance of that lane. You just kind of sit on that lead.
Dylan trying to get some damage out.
Yeah. And the best way to play around this KL AD carry as the Lulu and Lucian post 6 is just never really go all in. You've got no reason to give the Kale a fight where her ult can potentially turn it around. You just harass her back, take advantage of your range and your quick trades, and jump away every time the Kale looks to turn around with her sustained DPS.
Bit of a roam from fast.
Yeah, there's both of them tossed back. The Kale ulti will not be enough to save this fight. As down goes the Karma, and soon to follow will be the Kale. But actually, no, the Ignite ticking away is not quite enough. And Kale's able to turn back around, get some good damage into this fight. More importantly, flanking from the side, Nightingale claims one, Kha'Zix claims another, and Google is Skynet. Might be able to chase down a third. He doesn't have the evolved wings. He went with claws, as most Kha'Zix do. Most Kha'Zix will do nowadays.
Big Sponsor making a nice recovery there. What looked like disaster turned into a nice recovery.
Yeah, and you know, I gotta put whatever the opposite of a spotlight would be on Foss this game. He's had a very rough time of it, but Nightingale tossed backwards. Nice. Oh, man.
Potluck giving him no opportunity to do anything there.
Murdered. Does Dongo... Oh, no, it's not a 1v1. They've got a bit of assistance coming in from the side. Uber News is here. And because we just saw a victory in the bottom lane, we're seeing Big Sponsor a bit more ready to enrage this crocodile, but Pyke Lord is on a killing spree as he flashes in a 3v1 to finish off Camille. No, that's... Oh, man.
Renekton is one of those characters that can just, in such a short amount of time, he can just go into this tanky, huge, bursty character, especially against characters that don't have tons of armor.
And 15 minutes in is exactly when Renekton is at his most powerful. He's just... Even when not ahead by like 3 kills, he's a powerhouse at this point. But when 3 kills up and 50 CS to boot, that is going to be an almost impossible to deal with laner. A 3v1 still looks pretty good, even against those odds, but just not good enough. High Kick Lord is a tough one to crack for sure.
Absolutely. Dongo just not able to keep his distance after dominance went down.
What you've got to consider, though, is the fact that Supernova continue to have dominance here, but continue to have some rather messy fights. And I think I mentioned it earlier, Nightingale is going to be the one that Big Sponsor are going to have to rally around, I think. This Cassiopeia, not only has Nightingale had really deep mechanical play, this guy has already, just 15 or 16 minutes in, impressed me with his Cassiopeia. He also is the most fed on his team, which is probably one leading into the other. And there's some collateral going on there. And so if they can get a Kale ult on the Cassiopeia, if they can maybe even just use the Karma shields and such to keep him alive, this is the problem. I say they can rally around the Cassiopeia, but they've got no tools to do it. High Cake Lord, though, diving in to a 3v1, is going to swiftly dive back out again after he gets a face full of poison. What are your thoughts here, Effect?
Well, Pike Lord was trying to get that pick there, but he doesn't have any magic resistance, so he was forced to run away from how incredibly powerful Nightingale is.
Yeah.
During that, he went from 100% to almost dead there.
And this is where, if I were Big Sponsor, I would be regretting maybe not the Kale AD carry pick. They could have gone for something like a Ashe. But Kale honestly does provide a bit of protection for Cassiopeia because of the ultimate, because of the Divine Intervention. But maybe like the Camille top lane, or maybe the Kha'Zix jungle, as Potluck steals away a blue buff.
Well, denying that from Nightingale is a good play.
Yeah, one of these carries could have been a front line for Nightingale to hide behind. But without that, they've got to play on such a knife's edge here. Google Skynet leaping over the wall. Fast the Magi going to toss him backwards with a shield-bearing soldiers. And it'll be the Kha'Zix leap for the Azir ulti. Pretty good trade, for sure.
Definitely, I say that's definitely a fair trade.
Well, unfair.
Well,
but unfair in a way that I'm sure Big Sponsor are okay with. Speaking of unfairness, though, one thing I would like to point out as well is that both of the dragons that have gone over to Supernova so far have been these volcanic drakes, which is a huge deal with an Azir in your team. So they may actually very well be able to match the scaling now with the assistance of that extra 16% damage.
It's definitely not an insignificant damage boost.
By no means. 16% extra AP on an Azir is pretty big. Good sportsmanship between the top laners.
Absolutely.
Can't handle the 1v1 here. He's going to be followed by Foss under back from Google, matched by Foss. The continued chase results in a kill for the Kha'Zix, as once again, Foss is proving the weak link here. There's the kick onto Uber, though, as Keygrinch gets nearly bursted down. Divine Intervention popped onto the Karma to keep him alive. Meanwhile, Pie Cake Lord in this 1v1 is more than a match for the Camille, and so we'll get some good damage on the turret.
Redemption going to give them a nice heal. Ooh, Sonic Wave landing onto Nightingale, but he's not going to follow up.
I mean, all the while, though, this turret is going down slowly. As Dongo gets leapt on! Beautiful Q from Potluck. The kick back as well, securing the kill onto the Kale. Nightingale now the focus. Exhausted the Pie Cake Lord to keep Nightingale alive. He does manage to get the shutdown. Potentially a turnaround fight here as Yowie goes down. It's another kill onto the Renekton. The Croc is down, but no! So is the Cassiopeia. And the core of the team for the side of Big Sponsor rests in that snake. And once Cassiopeia falls, Supernova have a clean and easy victory for themselves.
That was so unfortunate for Icy Grinch. He got dragon kicked right into the waiting arms of Pie Cake Lord.
Yeah, and still didn't quite have his ultimate available from the earlier dive in the mid lane. It's on cooldown for another few seconds after that. Dillaran caught inside the Hextech ultimatum is going to go down. Sacrificial AD carry on the altar of that inhibitor take, but that's just fine.
Grinch, once again, building some more attack speed, more daggers.
Yeah, the on-hit Kale is certainly the way to go here. Something of a replacement for an AD carry position, and they've picked themselves into a very weird composition here because they kind of had to go for top laner because they've picked full AP really across the rest of the board. I guess they didn't really have to go for a high damage jungle. They could have chosen either Kha'Zix or Camille and then gone for a more tanky version of a jungle or top lane, just depending on where they go. And since top lane really has more meta tanks at the moment, I feel like the Camille may have been the weak link in the draft.
Oh, definitely seems that way. He seems to be struggling the most currently. Just cannot compete against Pike Lord. But to be fair, they picked the Camille first, not thinking Pike Lord was going to pick something super aggressive like Renekton.
Yeah, and they also may have picked the Camille partially to keep it out of Pie Lord's hands, who's an adept carry top laner, and Camille is the carry top lane to use at the moment. So, really, from draft, this game has gone a little south for the side of Big Sponsor, and Dongo is a perfect example of that, as his health bar goes south very quickly. Supernova starting off a Baron as well in the absence of a top laner to teleport in. This is at worst a 4v4 and at best a 5v4 for Supernova as Potluck is on the Nexus turrets. Big Sponsor is on a clock here.
Supernova
They've got to make a decision.
Gonna happily kite them away. They
Nightingale gets interrupted with the culling. Perfectly fine uses of the ulti there as the Emperor tosses 2 out of the fight. Uber Noobs manages to bring down Yowie, so at least the support is gone. Google is kind of doing some good damage. Nightingale kiting around, but there's the Renekton killing their base. They have to deal with this. It doesn't even matter if they win or lose this fight. If they lose the game off the back of Pie Lord, it's a triple kill with Lee Sin. They lose the fight and they lose the game, as it looks like Pie Lord will not be stopped. He's perfectly happy inside that Hextech ultimatum. He's just going to turn around and kill his own jailer.
He's not
in a fitting end to this game, Renekton strikes the final blow.
That was extremely aggressively played by Pie Lord and well done by Supernova to stop the backs. Unfortunately, Nightingale kind of backing in sight. They knew exactly where he was, and the culling was able to pull him right out of it.
All right, Supernova are going to go on to claim the victory here, and that is the finals going over to them. It is best of 1. We swapped over from the best of 3 for our Saturday Open tournaments. Our Sunday buy-in tournaments, though, are still a best of 3 finals. And speaking of those, that victory gives Supernova a free slot into our next Sunday buy-in tournament.
Congratulations to them. Valiant effort by...
Big Sponsor.
Big Sponsor. It's such an unusual name.
Yeah, sure. All caps.
It's not the most...
I think it would be more memorable being all caps.
That is true. To be fair, it's not the most unusual name we've seen here at Reverie, but still, kind of threw me off there.
No means. But yes, indeed, big shout outs to both teams. Shout outs to the viewers as well. Everybody at home watching us or somewhere else watching us, wherever you're watching us from. If you enjoyed the viewing, then please do tap that follow button as we go live every weekend with our open tournaments. And if you feel like you've got the chops or got a team that has the chops to compete here at Reverie, then next Saturday, consider joining our Discord and signing your team up for the competition.
Would love to have you guys. I would like to give a quick shout out to Serene Squirrel, who is helping run the tournament for this evening since Will was on a bit of a break. And also, we're going to be having a bit of a shout out to our sponsors. Some of you made us notice the commercials we were running during the 3-minute breaks. We do have Deco, which is a new sponsor for us. Speaking of Deco, Supernova is going to be winning some gift cards that they can use to buy some nice shirts. Very fancy. We also have Vibi, which is the website we use to help create our highlight reels. It's a free service. You can just go to the website, plug in a video, and bam, you can make a nice highlight reel. Last but certainly not least, we have LOL History app, which is a phone application that is just basically a summer lookup tool. Very quick and easy to use, very nice to have. And I guess that's going to be it, folks. Thanks for coming out to watch.
Have a good night, everybody.
We're signing off. We'll see you next week.